Hello guys, sorry about that, I was just finishing my vegetable moussaka lunch. I'm Cambridge Rory, or Cambridge English Teacher Rory, from studentlanguages.com. And if you want to know how to pass the FCE Writing Part 2 reports, then keep watching this video as it will be really useful for you. So if you look in the description with this video, you will see a contents where you can click to specific parts of the video. But just to give you a very quick overview, we are going to be focusing on FCE reports and specifically on a page of my website. Here is a link below for you. And if you go to this web page, you will see lots of information like this, including a question, a report question. You get to write your own report plan. You get to see my plan of a report. You get to see an example answer. You can complete the examiner's assessment scale template, which you can download and print off. Then you will see my critique, my examiner comments, and then whether this example was a pass or a fail. And then we will look at some vocabulary for writing reports. There's going to be lots of useful information. Again, you can click in the description to go to a specific part of the video. If you become a member, you get access to all the videos I've ever made. So there's loads more videos on my website which aren't on YouTube. So I really recommend joining. There is a discount code in the description for you. So in that video, the members only video, I talked a lot about what the examiners are looking for when they are marking a report, and we critiqued another example report, and we critiqued what an examiner said about that report. And I looked at more vocabulary for reports in that video, and it was just generally lots of useful information. So what I'm going to do quickly is I'm going to summarize the main pieces of advice for you from that last video. And so here we are. I've put it into 4 main points. The first, identifying the target reader, which is really important, and I talk about that more in my marking criteria video, and I'll put a link to that above. But identifying the target reader is really important, and for a report, that would usually be a superior, a leader, a teacher, a group leader, or your report could be written for a peer group, so your colleagues, for example. So that was the first point. The second point is that in a report you will need to present facts. Facts to the reader. So you need to have a good understanding how to present facts to a reader, or to your group leader, for example, or to your peer group. The third main point is that you will need to make suggestions or recommendations in your report. So it will be useful to learn specific vocabulary and ways of writing to help make suggestions and recommendations, and I will show you some useful vocabulary for this later in the video. The fourth main point is that you can, and I suggest that you use headings, subheadings in your report, because it makes it easier to understand and to see the flow of your arguments. It's easier for an examiner, and I will show you exactly what I mean when we look at this sample FCE answer later in the video. So just to summarize those 4 main points again, it'll be written for a group leader, or a superior, or a group of your peers. That's who will be reading the report. So that determines what type of language you need to use. Secondly, you need to write factual information to present facts in an appropriate style. Thirdly, you need to make suggestions or recommendations. And fourth, it would be a good idea to use headings and subheadings in your report. Okay, so let's dive straight in and have a look at a sample FCE report question. And you can see here on my website, I've named it FCE Report Question 1 because I will be adding more questions and more answers to this web page. And if you would like me to mark one of your FCE writings, then I will put a link in the description below where you can send that writing. So this question we are about to look at has come from the Cambridge English First Handbook for Teachers, and I will put a link to that in the description with this video as well. So rather than reading this question to you, I will let you pause the video now, take as long as you need, and read this question. And when you're ready, press play, and we are going to continue by looking at a plan for this question. Okay, so hopefully you've done that, and if you've watched my work before and you've seen other FCE writing videos that I made, I always recommend to make a plan in the exam. Do you know how long I say to make a plan? I either say 2 minutes or 5 minutes. What do you think? If you said 2 minutes, then I say no, no, no. Yeah, that's my impression of Amy Winehouse for you. I recommend taking 5 minutes to plan in the exam. Having a solid plan will really help you to write a better answer, to think of some ideas for your answer. It will help the whole writing process. So what I would like you to do now is to write an example plan for the question you just looked at before. And you can download a plan template that I have on this web page here, and I've titled it My Plan Template. If you click that, a new page will open, which looks like this. And I recommend downloading this page and printing it off. And then we can rule out essay, article, review and email because we are focusing on a report. So this is what I recommend for the plan. Write about target reader. What content are you going to write in your report? What type of language will be good to use, including some useful vocabulary that you might want to use. And then a quick sort of format. So introduction, what will be in your introduction, a few words about your first paragraph, your second paragraph, or you could even change these first paragraph, second paragraph, and write the subheading that you want to use in your report. So as I said, on my website, you can download a template, a plan template, my plan template. And then you can save it, and I recommend printing it off and writing your example plan. But do it as if you were in the exam. So take 5 minutes. Don't spend more than 5 minutes writing your plan. So I recommend pausing this video, writing your plan in no more than 5 minutes, and then when you finish that, press play and we will compare your plan with my plan. So pause the video now, print this FCE writing plan template, complete it for the question that I will put on the screen for you here, and when you're ready, press play. Okay, so hopefully you've done that, and now let's have a look at what I wrote in my B2 report plan. So the type of writing is a report. The target reader is a group leader, but this is also a teacher because you are a group of teachers. 2 main content points. So for me, I'm going to write about how it's used and which lessons teachers should watch. And for me, those are language classes and sports classes. So the type of language that I recommend using in a report is formal language, written in an objective tone, which means it shouldn't be so subjective. You shouldn't write your own opinions so much. It should be objective. A little bit persuasive, perhaps. You want to try and convince the reader to follow your recommendations and suggestions. And some other good things to use in your report would be, for example, conditional sentences and some good linking words, maybe some passive construction. Okay, and then I also wrote down some useful vocabulary for this report. So I wrote down computers, smart screens, tablets, videos, games, Google Translate, Google Pronunciation, apps, internet, instant material. So these are all the online and technology related resources that I think could be appropriate for this report. So for the format, I didn't write down the title of my subheadings, but that could be a useful thing for you to do. Instead, I just wrote down introduction. Technology is used in a variety of ways. To expand that point a little bit in my introduction, and to write about 40 words. For my first main paragraph, I want to write about 60 words, saying technology is used to help in most classes with interactive whiteboards. And then in my second main paragraph, I will talk about how it's used in a general lesson. So the technology that's used in most classes, and I will use history as an example. And then I will go more specifically to looking at how technology is used in language classes, because that's the more advanced technology that I think will be coming through in the next few years. And the language lesson is the one that I would recommend teachers to watch. In fact, I would recommend watching a general lesson where basic technology is used and a language lesson where more advanced technology is used. And then I would write a quick conclusion of about 30 words summarizing and making clear my recommendations. Whew, it's getting a bit hot. Are you hot watching this? I'm hot making it. I'll tell you that. This fleece, hot, 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 hot. But I will continue for you guys, and if you're enjoying this video, please give it a like, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel, as that will really help my channel to grow, and it will help more students like you find my videos. So I really appreciate that. And also, when you subscribe, you can click a bell notification, and if you do that, you will get notified every time I make a new video. And that could be really, really useful for you if you are preparing for the FCE or any other Cambridge English exam. Okay, so what we're going to move on to now is looking at an example report answer that one of my students wrote. And if you have my website open, you can actually download this sample answer by clicking this here. And what will happen is a new tab will open, and just like with the plan template, you can save it and print it off. And I would recommend doing that because what I would like you to do now is to read through this report and correct any mistakes in the language that you find. And you could also write any extra comments that you think could improve this report. Okay, so pause this video now, save and print off this answer, write your corrections on it, and whenever you've finished that, take as long as you need, and then press play. We will have a look at my comments on this writing. Okay, great. So hopefully you've done that. And now what I'd like you to do is move down the page until you see Examiner's Assessment Scale Template. Then I want you to open this template in a new tab by clicking Download the template below. And once you see a page like this with the Examiner's Assessment Scale Template, I would like you to again save this or download this page, print it off, and complete the template with a mark from 1 to 5, 1 being bad, 5 being good, and your comments about the answer that you just read. If you want some help completing this, I did do a writing marking criteria video for you, and I will put a link to that below in the description. It's a really useful video to watch. And so take as long as you need to do this. It's a really good exercise because it will help you get in the mind of a Cambridge examiner. And if you are in the mind of a Cambridge examiner, you're going to get much higher marks in the exam. So as I say, take as long as you need to do this. It's a really good exercise and practice. And when you're ready, press play and we will have a look at my critique of the answer and what I said on this assessment scale. Okay, so hopefully you've done that. So now let's go down and firstly let's have a quick look at what I said, my notes on the writing itself. It's interesting because the first thing I would say is just looking at the writing, at the report, I could see it was longer than the word limit. I counted and this student had written 300 words, which is 110 more than the top guideline specified by Cambridge. So 300 words is too many, and immediately an examiner will think, well, a lot of the content in here is probably not appropriate. If they see you've written too much, they'll think, there's probably some information that's not necessary. And that's exactly what I thought. I thought that this second paragraph here could be completely removed. Or, alternatively, you could keep the last sentence or two and add that to the introduction. But most of this information, I think, is not important. I also made a few other general corrections to this report, the language, and some comments in here. But I'm not going to go through it all now for you. Instead, I'd like you to visit this page on my website and to read this in more detail and to have a look at my comments, which are in bold writing and italics. So have a read through my comments and my corrections and see what I've written. There will be useful information in there for you, including some of the most common mistakes that FCE students make. So pause this video now, have a look at my comments here, and when you're ready, press play and we will have a read through of what I said on the examiner's assessment scale. Okay, so let's read what I wrote in the assessment scale template. So for content, I've given it 2 out of 5. As I said before, they've written too many words and a lot of the content isn't necessary. Also, there were 2 main parts to this report. One, talking about how technology is used, and the second, talking about which lessons teachers should watch. Now, the second part is only addressed in 1 sentence, and that, in my opinion, is not enough. The student should go into more detail. Why? Why is that a good lesson to watch? Communicative achievement, I've also given it a 2. So I said it's appropriate because it's formal and neutral language, but the problem is that the communication, the flow throughout the report is not clear enough, and this could be helped a lot by the use of headings and subheadings. And that's also what I wrote in organization. The whole report could be better by using headings and subheadings. It will make it easier for the examiner to see the flow and to follow the content of the report. And it will make it easier to understand. Finally, I thought the language that the student used was actually quite good. She's used passive structures, some less common grammar structures, and some good vocabulary. And even though there are some mistakes, which you'll see above, these actually do not impede communication, which means they don't disrupt the flow or disrupt the main points. The organization interrupts the flow of the reading a bit, but the language itself doesn't. So, is this report a pass or a fail? That's the big question. What do you think? Do you know? If you don't know, move down the page and read this. So I'll explain this quickly for you. In the writing exam, you need to get 24 out of 40 points to pass. Remember, you don't need to pass the writing paper because there's the writing, speaking, listening, use of English, and reading. And all you need to do is average 60% or more across all 5 papers in order to pass the B2 first exam and to get your certificate. So you don't need to pass the writing paper, but it's really good if you do pass the writing paper, and in order to do that, you need to get 24 out of 40 marks. And how do we work out how many marks you have? Well, there are 40 marks in total, and you need to do 2 different writings in the exam. So you get 20 marks for part 1, the essay. If you haven't seen my video on FCE essays, check it out in the description below, or I'll put a link above for you. So there are 20 marks for the FCE essay, and there are 20 marks for your part 2 writing. And you could choose a different part 2. It doesn't need to be a report. You might write an article or a different part 2 writing. But there are 20 marks awarded for it. And in order to get 24 out of 40, that would be 12 for part 1, the essay, and 12 marks for part 2, whatever that is. So really we want to be getting at least 12 marks out of 20 for a report. And they calculate that on how many marks they've awarded for the different marking criteria. So I've given it a 2 for content, 2 for communicative achievement, 2 for organisation, and 3 for language. And if we add that up, that is 2, 4, 6, and 3 is 9, that's 9 out of 20. If the student got 9 out of 20 for the part 1 essay, they would get 18 out of 40, and that would be below the 24 out of 40 that they would need. Therefore, they would need all the other exam papers to be quite a lot higher than 60% in order to pass the exam. If you want more detail about what you need to do in order to pass the exam, then I will put a link in the description for you. Okay, and the last part of this video that we are going to look at is some report vocabulary. So I'm just going to quickly tell you some good language for making suggestions or recommendations. So here's some good language for you. It would be wise to consider. The following ideas could make a big difference to. These measures could improve. Talking about some points that you've made before. One package of measures that could be implemented is. A combination of would drastically improve. So this is conditional style sentences, hypotheticals. If you do this, this will happen. So make sure you study first conditional and the other conditional sentences, because they can be really useful for making recommendations or suggestions. Okay, so I'm going to stop that video there. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, please remember to give it a like, subscribe to my channel, click the bell notification, and you will receive notifications on your phone or by email about my new videos. And remember, if you want to join and access all my other videos that I have ever made, more than just those that are on YouTube, then you should become a member to my website. At the moment, it's really cheap to do so, and I'll put a discount code in the description below for you. So thank you very much for watching, guys. I'm Cambridge Rory, or Cambridge English Teacher Rory, from studentlanguages.com. Adios amigos, ciao ragazzi, bye bye, wherever you are.